Hey, on this training today, I want to talk about energy and becoming more aware of energy and how being able to use your awareness of your energy and take control of it can become your superpower. I recently started, I don't know why, I was thinking about a couple friends that I used to have way back in my 20s, and I would always be so jealous of them because they would always talk about how sensitive they were to energy, how they could feel other people's energy, how like when we would go for a walk, how they could put their hands on a tree and feel the energy of the tree. And I remember one time we were in a crystal shop, and one of my friends was like, we were so enamored with these crystals, and she had her hands in all the different crystals because could feel the energy of the stones. And one of them, she felt it, and like she immediately dropped it. And I said, "What are you doing?" And she said that it was so powerful, like it was too strong for her. And first I thought she was crazy. I thought she was lying. And I said, "How could that be possible? I mean, how can a stone have so much energy that you have to drop it?" I just didn't understand it, but I wanted to. So I would always say, "Well, how do I do that? Like, teach me. Why can't I do that?" And you know, this one particular friend would tell me all about it, and I was like, I don't know, I can't do it. And then I would get mad. And then my other friend would talk about it as well, but like she wasn't as into it that much. She would just say like she would be more like, I don't like being in this place because I don't like the way the energy feels. And I thought, why can't, like, I thought they had some magic that I didn't have or that I wasn't allowed to have, and I couldn't tune into it. But when I really realized it later, after I had learned more about, you know, meditating, and then when I got into doing hypnosis and coaching and then all kinds of other things metaphysical, I realized I never stopped moving long enough to tune into or be aware of my body because of all my trauma. I was always just going a million miles a minute. I was always in my head, and I just never allowed myself any time to be still, be quiet, or really notice anything. I was always just like on the go, just push through, because that's how I am, is my compensatory strategy for dealing with my own trauma. But maybe you are aware of being sensitive to energy, or maybe you're like me and you're thinking, well, I don't know if I can feel energy, or maybe you're not aware of your own. So, have you ever had the experience where you walk into somebody's house and as soon as you walk in the door, you get a sense, like you can feel it in your body of, like, I like it in here. Like it maybe it looks um, beautiful, but the feeling also matches how it looks. So it feels light, and it feels like peaceful and calm, and like you just don't want to leave because it feels so great in there. And then on the flip side, I think I was even thinking of this more because I'm currently house shopping, house hunting. It's not going very well. But anyway, I did realize over the last few days that a house can look really great on the outside. And even it can look great when you walk in, but you can still feel there's a sense that I don't want this house, no matter how nice it looks, because something doesn't feel right here. Like it feels heavy. Or like you get a stomach ache and you're just thinking, yeah, no, no, I just got to get out of here. And then you don't have an explanation for it. It's just something you feel. And I don't know if you've ever had the experience like I have over the course of my lifetime of other people telling me in not so nice of a way how my energy, my crazy or anxious energy is impacting them, and they don't like it. And my kids used to tell me this in various ways all the time. And but I remember a few years ago, I was sitting next to a woman at a conference, and I didn't know her, and I hadn't said a word to her, and I was just minding my own business, just sitting there. I was reading, had my coffee, and I wasn't aware that there was anything particularly anxious about me that day. I was happy to be there. And I thought on the inside, I thought I was all good. And she started out of nowhere. She started packing up her stuff and she looked at me and she said, "I'm going to go sit elsewhere because your anxious energy is really having an impact on me. So I'm just going to move down there." And I was like that, okay. That was it was odd. It was kind of rude. Like I don't know why she felt the need to tell me. She could have just moved her stuff. But that made me think, like, what is going on with me today? Like maybe there is something to it. Maybe I am anxious and I'm not really aware. It turns out I was, and I found that out later when I had a panic attack. Not that day, but the next day in the conference. So she was right. Still, she didn't have to say it that way, but she was right. But that got me thinking and tuning in more to my body and my own energy. But like other examples would be like where my kids would tell me, like one day my son said to me, we were on vacation and I wanted to get a coffee. And he said, "You don't need any more coffee. You've already had enough." And I hadn't had any coffee. And I said, Chad, I haven't even had one coffee yet today. And he said, "Yes, you have." He said, "You're all zinging all over the place." And I didn't. I had not had a coffee and I really wanted one. And he said, that's not going to be a good idea because you're already too over the edge. And, again, I thought, why do people tell me this about me? Because I didn't think that that was true. Turns out he was right because later that day, I had an emotional meltdown. So he could feel it in me long before I did and wasn't aware. So um, the point of all this is that nervous systems communicate with each other and energy is contagious, calm is contagious, and so chaos is also contagious. So maybe you've had an experience where, like I shared, where someone has said something to you or reacted in a way, or maybe you've even noticed it in your own kids' behavior. So long before my kids had words, I would notice, I would notice that, in certain moments, like I thought I was doing the right thing by calming down when they got reactive or escalated. But I would notice that the calmer I got, the more out of control they would get. And it didn't make sense to me because, I was a speech language pathologist at the time doing a lot of sensory integration work with the kids that I was working with. So I thought I knew everything there was to know about managing behavior and sensory interventions. So I thought I was doing the right thing. And it was always puzzling to me why, when I would get calmer, my kids would, especially two of them, would react even more explosively. And now, knowing what I know now, it had a lot to do with the fact that I was showing them or trying to show them calm on the outside. So I would keep my face neutral. I would slow down my rate of speech. I would quiet my voice. I would verbally reassure them that everything was okay. I would use minimal words and I would just try and exude calm. But on the inside, I was not at all calm. So I remember several memories specifically where I was probably like a raging storm on the inside, or like holding back what felt like a volcanic eruption. And so when I think about that now, I know that it was agitating my kids more because it didn't make sense because I was trying to show them calm, but they were tuning in to how I felt. And the signals didn't match. So they couldn't make sense of what was going on because they were feeling my energy. Because kids are very sensitive to energy and they're wired to our nervous systems, particularly the mom. And they're always feeling into what's going on with us. And then also often worried about what's going on with us, but they don't have words for that. And so, when kids are having behaviors, extreme behaviors or um, excessive behaviors, we're thinking, what is it that's doing this? Like, what is the sensory trigger? Like, is it there's too much noise? Because they're very hypersensitive to the environment, and a lot of these kids with extreme behaviors have very sensitive sensory systems. So we're always thinking, right? Is it the smells? Like, are they reacting to strong smells, strong lights, a lot of noise? The feeling of something. It could tactile. It could be like they don't like the feeling of their clothes on their body. So we're thinking of like what are all the outside sensory triggers? But how often do we think, oh, maybe my energy is also impacting what's going on with their nervous system? And the, just because they're so very sensitive, um, when we, as the person modeling or showing the calm energy, even when we make tiny micro shifts, it might feel like nothing to us, like we're just changing something a tiny bit, but they feel it so much more significantly because they're so sensitive. So I just want to go through some quick ways that you can shift your energy in easy, fast ways that will make a big difference for you and also for them. So the first one, number one, the physiological sigh, and that is two quick inhales and then a slow, controlled exhale. And so I'll talk about it first and then do it. But what you're going to want to do is breathe in, take a deep breath in. Well, you're going to exhale out first, and then you're going to do a big, deep inhale. And then whatever room is left over in your lungs, you're going to inhale again. So you're stacking two inhales, and then you're going to exhale out slowly. So it'll be like this. And so that's a really quick way to reset your nervous system. And what that does is um, it releases the carbon dioxide buildup and then it communicates safety and like basically is telling the vagus nerve it can let go of the stress response. So that's a super fast way to shift your energy quickly and reset your nervous system. And then the second one is grounding. So if you just take a few moments to become aware of your feet and kind of get out of your head, get in your body, but just become aware of your feet connected to the ground. And then actually, push your feet into the floor, or if they're resting on a um, on a step stool, or um, even on the earth, wherever your feet are, just push them down slightly and just become aware of the contact with your feet on the ground. If you have bare feet, even better. But as you're doing that, I like to imagine grounding with a tree. So it's calming for me to think of a tree. And then as I'm pushing my feet down, I am imagining roots on the bottoms of my feet. So when I do it, I like to imagine myself in my favorite place in nature. And I like to imagine the feeling of my feet on the earth, bare feet, and then imagine the trees around me and then the roots going down from my feet, connecting me to the earth. And I even imagine the roots going down like really deep into the earth and then like anchoring me in so that I'm connected. So when you do that, it like you can't really be spiraling, you can't be spiraling up here when you bring your awareness down into your feet. And um And then as you're doing that, you can just slowly, be doing deep breathing or slow breathing for grounding. So those are the first two. And then the third one, placing hand over your heart for heart coherence. And when you do this, you're going to, again, slow your breathing. And then I like to close my eyes, but just imagine something that makes you feel love, like maybe imagining the people in your life that you love, or or a place where you like to go where it's beautiful and you feel relaxed, maybe by the water, or maybe on a trail walking through the woods, or even something that makes you that you're very grateful for. That because when you start feeling love and happiness, joy, and gratitude, you can't be anxious. It will really change your state quickly. So hand over heart, breathing, and then an image of something that you love, that you're grateful for, or that is beautiful and relaxing and calming. And then the next one is a 5 second reframe. So it's this one might be a little trickier, but it's like really tuning in when you're feeling a certain way, if you're having strong emotions or you're feeling like you're worked up about something, to just take a few moments to sit quietly and then ask yourself, is this even mine? Because a lot of times, especially when people are sensitive to energy, we are picking up other people's emotions, we're holding them, we're carrying them, and we're reacting, and they're not, it's not even ours. It's not even our stress or our worry or our energy. And but it might be piling on to ours, and then it just feels like so much. So getting quiet and asking, first asking the question, is this mine or is this someone else's? So how will you know? If it's yours, um, so like example, right now I am somewhat stressed about my situation where I want to sell my house and move somewhere else. And that is stressful. And thinking about finances and the logistics of it all and finding a new place is stressful. So if I just get quiet for a minute and I think, is this mine? I will notice what is triggered in my mind or in my body, or I might hear a word. So if I see a picture of the house or I think about moving, if something about my life situation comes up in my head, then I know it's mine. Like this is what I'm worried about. And so also the other thing you might notice when it's yours is that it might build up over time, and then the emotion about that thing might come in waves. So you might feel it really strongly, and then it'll pass, but then it comes back again. Um, and so that's if it's yours. And if it's someone else's, you you might notice that if you do like a quick, if you ask, is this someone else's? You might notice that it will just being asking that question and becoming aware of that, you might notice that something feels like it lifts or shifts just because you've brought your awareness to it. Um, when you do a reset, like if you do a breathing reset, like the physiological sigh with the two inhales and exhale, or even if you just slow your breathing and take deeper, calmer breaths, um, if it's someone else's, that's likely just enough to shift whatever you were holding on to, and and it will dissipate. And then you'll notice, like, it's gone. But if it's yours, you might feel better for a few moments, but it's going to likely come back because it's something that is in your nervous system and it's yours, and you know you need to deal with it, and it's bothering you. But if it's someone else's, and you kind of get that cue, oh, this isn't even mine. Um, you could just imagine it if it or intend it. If this is not mine, um, I allow it now, or I release it now, and I allow it to lift and float away. So you could even just imagine just having the intention of whatever you're feeling. maybe floating away, like on a cloud or in a hot air balloon, just watching it go farther and smaller and move away from you. And that will be enough to like release it. And then you're going to feel much lighter. You'll feel different. So noticing that. And if it is yours, if you're carrying something that is yours, it of course it's your responsibility to manage that. So if I know I have stress about my house and I don't have kids at home right now because my kids are grown, but if they were still here and I were in the house with them, and I'm aware that I have a lot of stress going on, it's my responsibility to manage that and keep my stress level and at a lower level and to do frequent resets throughout the day so that I don't allow it to just build, build, build till I finally have a meltdown or explode. And so the last one that's a really quick shift that you can do is the funnest one, which is really just shake it out or jump it out or move it out of your body. So you could literally just 30 to 60 seconds, just shake your entire body or jump up and down, do jumping jacks, or dance or do something physical to literally release the cortisol and discharge it and then move it through your body. And also you're changing you're changing what your body's doing. And so it's going to feel silly, but more fun, which is going to make you feel a different way emotionally. So 5 quick resets that you can do. And just to wrap up, the importance of being aware of tuning in to your own energy, getting quiet, giving yourself, doesn't even have to be long, just 60 seconds to sit and notice what do you feel in your body and where do you feel it? And even asking, is this mine? Where is it coming from? And you could even imagine breathing in a color that represents calm. And then when you exhale out, releasing the color that represents the chaos or the worry or the stress. But being tuned in to your energy and knowing that your child is going to feel it. And so, whatever your energetic state is, or whatever's going on in your nervous system, they're going to feel it. So, it's so much more empowering to be able to know that you can shift it, that you can change it. And you could think of your the potential there for what you could do with that. So when you think about your kids' behaviors, right, and you think, I gotta, I gotta stay on top of this. I've got to manage the environment. I got to anticipate ahead of time what could possibly set my child off so that that doesn't happen. And then you feel like you're walking on eggshells. It just feels hard and it feels really heavy and it feels like too much to do. But you don't have to do that. So you can think of it like your energy is like um, you set the tone for the whole house. And so your energy is like the emotional thermostat, and you can take control of it. So you can set it however you want to. And as you do these little resets, or even pick the one that you like or one that's the easiest, and just do that like I don't know, whatever's going on in your house, however frequently you might need it, but maybe every half hour, do another reset. So you keep yourself, whatever's starting to build, you take it back down so it doesn't explode. So micro shifts, the power of micro shifts. So remember, even if you do a very like the smallest little shift, they're going to feel that they're going to feel that in a huge way. And calm is contagious, and so is chaos. So now you have 5 ways that you can take control and create more calm. Have a great day.